Hello, welcome to the One I Have Storytime podcast. My name is Frank, and I'm sitting here enjoying a wonderful day. I love how the media or the news, whatever, makes news just so it has news. So you know Joe Rogan. Well, I don't follow Joe Rogan anymore because he went to Spotify. When he was on YouTube, I was watching him all the time and listening to his shows. But like YouTube's a just a it's just a better platform if you want to hear uh, certain podcasts because like a podcast like Joe's show, you know, you can listen to the whole podcast or there's like six other channels that'll just have like a 10-minute clip from like his podcast because sometimes his podcasts are like 3 hours long. That's kind of why like my longest podcast has been like half an hour because like I know people are busy and I know with me I rather hear a short podcast. That's why I do so many, so like you can hear like a bunch of short ones back to back to back. If you want to hear a 3 hour podcast of mine, you can. You just have to listen to like a bunch of shows back to back. But anyway, that's beside the point. We all know well, the real medical facts about the fantasy flu that's going around. The European medical community, um, like they brought up that 78% of the people who are hospitalized are hospitalized because they're overweight. If you're in shape, eat right, don't have any other underlying sicknesses, you're just a regular young healthy person. You don't have anything to worry about. And that's what doctors have said. So anyway, Joe Rogan, he basically said the same thing on his podcast, and for some reason, Twitter is losing its mind that he said that on his podcast. I mean, it's just first of all, we all know. Third of all, we all know that Twitter does not represent the world. 20% of the population is on Twitter. That's like of the population, like 20% of the population is on Twitter. So obviously, Twitter does not represent what the masses think. And then 80% of all the posts on Twitter are generated by like 10% of the people on Twitter. So Twitter, it does not represent anything. It's a very small minority. But anyway, because Joe Rogan said like if you're 21, you're eating right and you're healthy, you don't have any other underlying diseases and you're or sicknesses and you're a skinny healthy person, you don't need to get you know a fantasy stab. And it's like all the people who are like freaking out, those are the people who are in the cult. The so like sheep are very very strong because they're just idiots. They have groupthink and they all gather together and they think the wrong thing and try to make everyone else believe that one plus one is three. And people like Joe Rogan who tell you one plus one is two, they get like a million people going one plus one is three, and a weaker person would cave and go one plus one is three. But Joe Rogan, Joe Rogan's not gonna do that unless someone pays him $100 million. And it's you should see what the media has done to people with its scare tactics and just bombarding people with bad dire news and like falsified statistics. But you can't take America's statistics because the government pays the hospitals for every fantasy flu case they get. So anytime money is involved with anything and you have people involved, it's not gonna it's gonna be crooked. It's gonna be bullshit. I don't know. I don't know. Look at Florida. Look at Texas. Look at those two states. Look at their statistics. I mean, we gotta wake up, people. But if you wanna, well, I mean, it's too late now. But like, how many small businesses have been destroyed? How many people have lost their jobs? How many people have been suffering through hard times for like for over the past year? You know, I mean, there are people who haven't seen, if you're the type that actually likes seeing your loved ones, there's people who haven't seen their loved ones for the longest time. There's people who haven't gone to funerals because of this. Now, I'm not a funeral person, so, I don't care. But, like, like my aunt passed away. Couldn't go visit her. Couldn't, couldn't even have a funeral. But, that's one example. So like I know it happens. It's happened to me. Granted, I'm not one of those people who care about funerals. I'm just saying, if I was, I wouldn't have been able to go. And also, I'm one of those people who like I don't want to visit you in the hospital anyway. So I'm not complaining. But yeah, it's just weird how people who speak the truth and free thinkers are the main targets of the sheep. I don't understand. Like, does it hurt you when someone else thinks differently than you? That's the whole point that I'm trying to convey here. Does it hurt when someone thinks differently than you, or has a different opinion than you, or votes differently from you? I mean, we're not all the same. We all have different opinions. I don't understand the people who get physically or mentally hurt when there's someone who thinks differently. I mean, or like, is it because Joe Rogan's famous? Like, if like whatever, like Sarah from like Foot Locker said the same thing that Joe Rogan said, and she posted that on her whatever YouTube channel and made a video. Would you still feel the same way, or is it because it's Joe Rogan and he's famous? Are you actively mad? And there's people, there's a lot of people against him, and then there's people saying he didn't say anything wrong. Like what's wrong with having a different opinion, or stating a fact actually, because what Joe Rogan said was factual. There's statistics to back up everything Joe Rogan said. So even when there's facts backing stuff up, and people don't like what you said, once again, 1 + 1 = 3. Gotta watch out for those people. I mean, this is why I kind of don't. Well, it's one of the reasons why I don't talk to people anymore. You know, like, because like I don't care if your opinions are different than mine. It doesn't matter. It could be any topic. It doesn't have to be about the fantasy flu. And actually, I don't have strong opinions about the fantasy flu. If you want to get jabbed, go get jabbed. I don't care. You know. Now, if it's like a family member, like like let's say like my mom, she didn't know if she should get it. I'm like, well, no, you shouldn't, because these are the facts. You're healthy, you're skinny, you eat right, you exercise. According to, and then if you look at the facts, there are some European doctors from some socialist countries who gave some statistics And according to them, my mom is in the category of people who don't have anything to worry about. So I'm like, well, no, according to all these doctors, you're fine. But then I guess according to some American doctors, you're not. But we're not going to go with American doctors because they have an agenda. But no one got mad. But the problem is the media was making her feel anxious. And then like once I told her about like what these European doctors were saying, because they don't get paid based on fantasy cases. They don't get paid. They just they're from a socialist government, so medical care is free. So it's not like you're gonna get any extra money from having patients. But anyway, no one got mad. We're just good. Okay, cool. Um, yeah, and once again, like when there's money involved, the more money, as those rappers say, the more money, the more problems, or as I say, the more money, the more lies involved. Anytime there's money to be had, people are gonna just make shit up. I mean, like, you don't. I mean, you gotta think like, why are people so adamant about the wrong opinion? Probably because they're gonna make some money off of it. There's several examples of this happening. I mean, you can even my favorite example is George Bush when he went to war because he had some information about some weapons of mass destruction. Now we all know there were no weapons, and we all know it was a lie, but people profited off of that. His vice president made millions. It could have even been billions because they had to rebuild everything that they bombed, and yeah, he had partial ownership of the construction company. Once again, when there's money to be had, crooked things happen. And that's just one example, but there's several examples like that. So if people are willing to bomb other countries to make money, what do you think they're willing to do if it's something simpler like a fantasy pandemic? So it is what it is. You gotta like get your information from sources who aren't going to make money off of the good or the bad. Independent news sources are where you have to get your information. I mean, even in this country, I don't listen to either side. You know, even if I wanted news about our government, I would get my news about our government from like another government. Like a lot of the news I get about America, I get from the Korean news station because they just report the news. They gain nothing by having a certain side of American news. Like you should watch American news shown by another country because it's completely different. It's just the story. It's like nothing else. Like in America, like you can watch a news station and get like this. You can watch two different news stations about the same story, and and you'll swear it's two different stories because it's really not news. It's just it's entertainment really. It's just what's going to get the most ratings. It's all about echo chamber speak. I want to hear I don't want to hear the news. I want to hear exactly what I'm thinking said back to me. That sheep mentality. It's insane. I mean, that's why this country is so great because it's just a bunch of like you know government megaphones telling you what you think instead of what you need to hear. It's I mean it's echo chambers on both sides. It's sad. See, I don't need to hear exactly what I'm thinking. I just need to hear the truth. My world's not gonna end because someone thinks different than me. You know, it must be weird having to be right all the time, and it must be really weird being offended that someone doesn't think exactly like you, or hearing something that you don't agree with. You know, it could be any topic. You could be like pro-choice. You could be like pro-life. There's some people who get mad because you're the opposite of them. Like, who cares? Let them do what they want to do. It's not affecting you or whatever. It could be any topic. Yeah, that's just one. I mean, but that's another one of those topics where people get like, physically ill. How could you think the opposite of me? Well, because that person isn't you. People are different. It's just how it is. That's why I don't understand when you have these people protesting. You'll have like people gathering to protest. I mean, gathering to riot, right? And then you'll have another group of people who are gathering because they don't like the fact that these other people are gathering. Who cares? Who cares? It's just so stupid. And they all have one thing in common. They just want to go out and riot and loot or beat someone up because they think differently. We need to take all these people who go out and protest, gather all of them up, and like ship them to Wyoming and put a fence around Wyoming and move the regular citizens out and put all these BLM and Antifa people in one state so they can just protest and loot and burn everything they want all day. So we can, fix the rest of America and like let it prosper. All these people who make autonomous zones like George Floyd Square, all those people need to be booted out of America. You should not be allowed to do something like that. That's some third world country shit. But it gets a pass. It gets to stay because what does it do? It probably it probably gets certain news sources ratings. Obviously, it helps out the certain people financially in the government because if it hurt if it made people in the government lose money, they would end that as quickly as possible. America has access to what a military, right? So you're telling me that you're gonna let some ghetto ass neighborhood shut down 3 city blocks? The reason why you're doing it because it actually makes more money than loses money, of course, and also it you know promotes your agenda. The people are the last thing, like the citizens, the good citizen, are the last thing that gets helped in all these groupthink situations. All these idiotic protests and riots and fantasy pandemics. All the only people who get hurt are the good citizens, the people who have an IQ above shoebox, basically. The people who don't need an echo chamber, the people who just want to live normal lives, have some normalcy. Those people are the ones that suffer the most. Look at all that's gone on the past year. The only people who suffered are the people who are actually productive citizens. Productive citizens have been hurt the most throughout all this crap. And half of the crap that's gone on is made up bullshit. All this censorship. Who's it really hurt? Smart people. People who actually think. Who's it helped? The sheep. People who want to loot. People who want to destroy. The foundation of America is being shook because people who think freely, people who just want to live normal lives, aren't allowed to do so. Obviously, who's ever really in charge, or the group of people who are in charge, are making more money off of this. That's why it's allowed to happen. I mean, like, look at big business. Hey, I've said it before, like Amazon, Target, Walmart, and others, but like those are some of the biggest. I mean, they're really profited off of what's been going on the past year, and they give they give political or campaign donations. I mean, you don't see them crying over what's going on. They've all been booming. What about like I don't know much about firearms. Meaning, like, I don't know like how many companies actually make firearms. Like I know what a gun is, but since this all this crap has happened, the fantasy lockdown, gun sales have skyrocketed. Like I'm assuming there's a Walmart version of gun of a gun store, whatever. That place is booming. There's just so many things that are owned by the right people that are making money off of all this chaos, basically. And look at all the people who have lost during these times. The independent thinkers, the entrepreneurs, the the small time business owners, the mom and pops, the people who are a thorn in the side of big business and other free thinkers. You know what I mean? Like, Jeff Bezos, you know, he I don't think he started out with like a mom and pop store because he came out, his version was we're going to start a big ass bookstore. Okay, so I guess that's. But that was a little thinking outside the box. He started out, cool, I guess. But he turned and he became one of them. So I don't know how much longer this is gonna last. I mean, thank God for Florida and Texas. You know, and thank God for the recall election in California. It takes a lot to get them to turn things back to normal, and the only way you do that is by taking away their money. If Gavin Newsom can't be the governor of California, he can't get a lot of benefits. So that recall, it's going to happen. It's happening. But that recall made him change his ways quick, and now we're going to, and now the state's going to be reopened, but he's not going to be governor anymore. I like how he tried to change it as soon as that recall passed. He's like, oh, yeah, well, we're going to open back up, hoping that people won't vote him out. But nope. But that's what has to happen across the whole country, though. But there's too many sheep. See, the thing with California is because it's California, like people come here because of the weather. So people want to go outside. People want stuff to do, even though everyone's fat. you know, California is one of those states where it doesn't matter the time of year. It doesn't matter like where you live. In most places in California, there's something to do. California is known for being a state where you can do something. Like, if you want, like even where I live, I can go, the stereotypical thing, I can go surfing and I can go skiing the same day if I want to. There's millions of bars, clubs, places to shop, places to eat. Well, there used to be, till some idiot closed it down. But he he was gaining something by having it closed down. You know, and I like how in California things were closed down, but then once Hollywood reminded Gavin Newsom about of how much money they donated to him, oh, Hollywood was allowed to open up. Once again, it's just all about the money, and that was Gavin Newsom's downfall. When Hollywood reminded Gavin Newsom how much money they donated to him, and he lifted all the restrictions for Hollywood, and then all the small business owners were like, "Hey, wait a moment," and then that started the movement of the recall. You know, it's like the small guy, you got to follow these rules, but me, oh, I could do whatever I want. Mr. Gavin Newsom going to restaurants, not wearing a mask, who cares? But if you set a precedent by telling everyone else you got to do something and you don't do it, well, people aren't going to like that. Which I'm glad. I mean, I'm glad Gavin Newsom was just living his life normal because like that's what we all should be doing. But I'm glad that he was telling everyone to like stay inside, don't do anything, and he's out doing stuff. I'm glad he got caught because it's like that's what all of us should be doing. All of us should just be living our normal lives. But you know, everything that happened because of money, and we're gonna reopen up because of money. So, in a way, it's bad. In a way, it's good. Can't wait till June though, because that's when magically it's gonna be safe to go back to normal 100%. That right there just shows you it's all a bunch of bullshit. Anyway, I've said enough. Have a good one, people. Peace.